The Weekly Warm Pipe.
Hope everyone had a fulfilling Thanksgiving with turkey, stuffing, apple pie, pumpkin pie. What's your go-to pie, Jay?
I am an apple pie guy all day long, but my
Okay.
mother-in-law makes this what do they call it, 7-minute cheesecake, something like that.
Okay.
It's basically like you take cream cheese and like Cool Whip, and then like you put it in like a graham cracker crust, and then you put cherries on top, like from like the can of cherries with like
the maraschino
juice.
cherries.
No, not maraschino. They're like, this is more like pie filling cherries.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty good.
Nice.
So those two are my favorite. Pumpkin pie is good, but apple pie is better. What about you?
Yeah, I definitely enjoy myself some apple pie. I like we don't make it at Costco. We have a regular pie in there, but Dutch apple, right? It's got the crumble on top.
Gotta have that
Pretty
crumble.
good. We used to do a lattice apple pie, and now we switched to it's just like a regular top with.
So does the
holes.
lattice mean like it's crisscrossed?
Yeah, and that was a pain because you had to like put the lattice on the pie itself, like bing, 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 for this way, sugar it, and then get it going. So a little more work. Looks nicer, but
Looks pretty rad though.
yeah. We did get a topic suggestion because we asked you guys, what should we talk about on the show?
And you pulled through like you always do.
We got Retroholic 16. He said, I would love to hear you guys video games hot takes. Games you loved back in the day that don't play well now, or even overrated games. For example, I think Zelda, A Link to the Past, is overrated.
I don't know about that. That's
Oh,
a
boy.
pretty hot take.
I mean, that is a pretty hot take. I wonder, have you played? I mean, asking to Retroholic 16, I wonder if he played Link Between Worlds. Was it Link Between Worlds? Trying to think the one that came on in the 3DS. I think it was called Link Between Worlds. It was supposed to be a sequel, essentially, to A Link to the Past.
Did you play it?
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed that one. It had this weird mechanic where Link would get flat and be against the wall like a mural, almost like a Paper Mario-ish
I was
type
about to
thing.
say Paper Mario.
Right, so there would be puzzles involved with that. But it was pretty cool. It almost had like your light world, dark world, but it was a little bit different,
Paper World, 3D World.
something like that. But it was a good one. I played through that one. But yeah, I made a short list of games that fall into that realm, and we asked you guys as well your take on it. I did want to. I'll jump out the gate.
Out the gate.
Not to rush it, but we did get a phone call.
What? Is it a good one?
That I think we should take a listen to before we start the show.
Oh yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, hang on.
I keep dreaming about my dream phone.
It's for you.
Oh wait, did I not load it in yet?
Did you not load it in, Russ?
Maybe I didn't. I know I downloaded it.
This is somehow my fault, or at least my camera's fault.
Voicemail, here it is. Why won't it let me select it?
Hmm.
Oh, see, look, because it's down here. Never mind. Here's our voicemail. Here
Let's
we go.
go.
It's from you.
Ho, ho, ho. Santa Claus here from the North Pole. Calling to talk to Christmas
Oh, you
tree
cut out.
because I think it's very important. Because you don't want me to show up with a lump of coal. Because there will be no tree to put gifts up. Oh, Merry Christmas.
Look at that. I got a phone call from Santa.
I know him.
I guess so. He's referring to our last episode. I mentioned not getting a tree this year because of our baby, and I was worried about maybe the baby pulling it down. So he seemed pretty upset.
Sounds like you got more to worry about than the tree at this point. You might be getting a lump of coal, Russ.
I will say, I came home the other day, and the wife had picked up a fake tree, and it's a skinny one.
Oh,
so this way
we
we can tuck it in the corner, so this way Gwen won't get too close to it.
And if it falls, it's less damage.
Right, I think so. So the Lyman family does have a tree. Santa, you could come over and place your gifts under there.
Rest assured, Santa.
Rest assured. We'll have some hot cocoa out and a weekly warp pipe mug for you and some
Heck
cookies.
yeah. Santa's going to be sipping on the weekly warp pipe. I love it.
He can listen to the podcast on his Sirius XM radio up there on the sleigh.
Yeah. I'm sure he does.
Sweet. Okay, let's get into it. I put a couple on my list here of games that I loved back in the day, but now kind of going back to them, I didn't enjoy them as much. Here's my hot take. Metroid on NES. It's a tough one.
Those
Right?
are fighting words, Russ.
It's a great game. There's no
Go
map.
backpedal. Go backpedal now.
There's no map in it, so it makes it that more difficult to play, I think, now. If you're not using the internet and all your resources or whatever. But being a young lad playing Metroid for the first time, there was a lot more, I think, into that exploration, and you weren't exposed to all these other games that you are now spoiled to. You're like, oh, I got a map and I can do this and extra buttons and yada yada. That's why I think my better version was the Metroid Zero mission that was made on the Game Boy Advance, which is a remake of the first Metroid. It's a lot easier to play.
I imagine Metroid and Zelda back in the day were those games you had to like draw maps for and write
Exactly.
down every single passcode. And it might have taken you like 6 to 8
I say
months to beat it.
absolutely. Yes.
But no, I could totally see that being a frustrating game to come back to. Unfortunately, I don't have early memories with it. I played it as an adult. And
Okay.
as an adult, I felt I had much more patience with it than maybe I would have as a kid,
Right.
despite the fact that I would have less time as an adult. But I also did some things to make it a little easier. Like I could, search walkthroughs if I got stuck somewhere.
Right. Like I distinctly remembering many nights playing it where, I'm low on health and I just had to like find an area and just farm killing the enemies to get enough health and like missiles just to progress a little bit further and
Yeah.
write down that password. Okay, now I'm a little bit further and just going, a little bit at a time. I will say with the password system, at least you could have rented this game back in the day and then the following week when you rented it again, you have your own password to pick up where you left off. Whereas with Zelda, it was saving on the cartridge. And if you rented it and came back next week, someone could have saved over your file and then you have to restart the game.
Now, would that work on a separate cart? Like if they gave you cart A of Metroid and you wrote down the password, but then you rented cart B the second week, does it carry over? Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, yeah, it does. That's why, the Justin Bailey code works on anything. So like you can just
Fair.
look up,
Okay. Yeah.
you look up any password on the internet now and then
It'll work
type
on
it
it.
in. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I didn't know that.
But there's appreciation to the game, sure, and that's where it started off. But going back to it now, I feel like I'm more likely to go back to Super Metroid, where it was a more polished game with your maps and kind of leading you where to go.
Yeah, Super Metroid's amazing. I'd say the other thing on Metroid that I wish they would have done a little different is I know why they did it, but I don't like it. When you're low on health, you got that beep 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 beep. It's like driving you insane.
Absolutely.
And you're trying to farm health, and you're like, come on, just shut up, So
Just one more, and then you get hit again, and you're like, no, it's back
no.
down.
And then she explodes in like 4 little blocks. I always kind of hated that for some reason.
Oh, the death animation.
Yeah, I don't
Just
know why I didn't like
exploding.
that.
Self-destruct inner suit.
Yeah. Yep.
Well,
So, I'm gonna be honest with you, Retroholic 16. I had a really tough time with this topic, so I'm just gonna take it off the wing here. One game that I liked more as a kid, as an adult, not as much. Skate or Die for the NES.
ooh, I was gonna put that on my list. Skate or Die.
Like Skate or Die is one of those games that like I had to have it as a kid. I love skateboarding. It was the late 80s. Tony Hawk was the man.
Oh yeah.
All the kids at church had it. It was the closest thing to skateboarding you could get on the NES. And but going back as an adult, I mean, like, I bet I can play it like 10 to 20 minutes max, and I'm just over it. Because like all it is really a bunch of mini games, you know?
Right. It's not having now experience like playing Skate, playing Tony Hawk, like all
Oh
those
yeah.
more polished games
I mean, I
where you
played Pro Skater for like 3 hours before. You know what I mean?
and it perfectly explained it like going to Skate or Die. You're just playing mini games about skateboarding.
Yeah.
But it was just because it cashed in at prime time of like skateboarding was so big, video games are kind of new
Yep.
since the crash. Like this is a new system, Nintendo. And you're like, oh. And I love the guy that looks like
Rodney Danger.
Rodney Danger as your skate shop guy. So good. And the music's great too.
Yeah, the music's. I mean, it's not a bad game. It's just it holds your attention just long enough.
Right. Where I'd say it'd be hard to do a full stream on it. If I was gonna, usually when I stream for 2 hours. I don't know if I could play Skate or Die for 2 hours.
Yeah, I
Although,
mean, I think Joust is like probably my favorite of the whole game.
okay,
Just skating back and forth in the pool, whacking the guy with the little whatever you call that thing, bopper. I don't know.
yeah, sure, that works. But I guess, or is it a joust? Is that called the joust?
I don't know.
I don't know. I will say I never played, or maybe I played once Skate or Die 2. I don't know if it's any much better or changed the formula,
Yeah, I
or
wonder if I have that game. I don't even know.
I'm sure I bought it because when collecting, I was like, oh, got one, got to get two, right?
Got to get two.
There's even isn't there even a Ski or Die?
There is a ski or die. Yes, there is.
So that could be the trifecta right there.
You need all three to be able to stream for 2 hours.
Right, there you go. Hey, that could be an upcoming stream, right?
There you
Winter
go.
time's coming, skiing. I don't know.
Little luge.
But yes, I said I was gonna end up putting it on my list. I didn't. I did have a another Nintendo game on mine. I'll switch over back to Nintendo, but I want to stay on topic with this one. Following up to my first game, I put Metroid Prime on GameCube.
Mm,
This one was tough. I did live stream this one. Now, I got the game new when it came out, and it was like big deal because I was like, "Oh, Super Metroid was so awesome! This is the new Metroid on GameCube." So I played it a fair amount of times. Didn't really get anywhere back in the day. So talks of Metroid Prime 4 coming out. I was like, you know what? Let me stream this. Maybe I could get into it. So I started playing, I think on the Wii, because they did do a trilogy on the Wii. And
okay.
I heard with the motion controls it was a little bit better. So I went to it and I was like, I can't do it. I can't do it. It's not working. Let me try on the actual GameCube. And I was playing it and we got fairly far in the game, but I wasn't able to beat it just because of, I don't know, maybe difficulty in controls or like graphics or who knows. But when I was streaming it, they did announce the remaster coming out on Switch.
Yes.
And I was like, are you kidding me? And I got to start this game over again and get to where I was,
Terrible timing.
which I ended up doing. And since I was very familiar with all the other areas in the game, and I did finally beat it on the Switch. And because they updated the control system on the Switch, where now all these shooter style games, you have one that controls your movement and the other is your, Y axis or whatever to control your, which it wasn't like that on the GameCube. It was like
Mm.
very different. And I was like, so it's hard to go back
Once
to
you've
those
learned
style
that
games,
way for
right?
shooters.
Since like that paved the, I don't know what game did it first, but it was like every game after, like
Probably
however,
Halo, I'm guessing. I don't
is
know.
like this is how the controls should be because it wasn't
Yeah.
even like that. And everyone praises
Goldeneye.
GoldenEye,
I knew you were gonna say that.
and
I
with
hate
that
Goldeneye.
weird C button, like as you're looking, and like this doesn't work.
There's probably the blast. Go ahead, send the hate. Give us the calls. Goldeneye sucks.
Now I bought it, never played it, but they did release GoldenEye on the Wii. I don't know if it was supposed to be a remaster of the N64 version, but I would say I never played it. I have it, still have it, haven't played it. Didn't bother to go back to it, I guess. But Metroid Prime, better probably growing up. Not so much now. Just get the remaster. Play that one.
The remaster is awesome. I don't know how it compares to the GameCube because, like I said, I didn't grow up with GameCube.
Right.
But that if that aiming mechanic isn't the same, I would have hated it.
And this will come up on Wednesday's episode if you guys are listening on Saturday when Warpipe Wednesday comes up. But I'll bring it up again now because we're talking Metroid Prime. I picked this up off of Etsy. This is a custom manual for the game Metroid Prime. This guy on Etsy does custom manuals for the Switch, and they are beautiful. I've gotten ones in the past, and they are full color on the inside and just look legit. So if you go on Etsy and just search, custom Switch manuals, he has a few. I picked up Metroid Prime, and I also picked up Luigi's Mansion as well, and it just makes your Switch collection that much more complete since these companies are not giving us the darn manuals anymore.
What does he charge for that, Russ?
I think it was like $8, something like that. I mean, you do have to pay shipping. It's coming from overseas, so I do like to try to get like 2 or 3. But it's not like it's $20 or something like that.
I mean, and like you just showed it to those of you people watching YouTube. It's really well done.
Let's see here. Custom.
Super clear.
Let's say I could pull up the website quickly here. Switch manuals. We could kind of see if I could find them quickly here.
You guys have to forgive me. My battery's low. I've yawned maybe 77 times since me and Russ started this.
Your internal battery, not your camera battery.
Yeah, my camera battery is okay. My internal battery is. I don't know why, but it's struggling.
I'm doing a poor job of trying to find this quickly.
That's okay.
There we go. Okay, let me.
Russ, where are you going
over
for Thanksgiving tomorrow? Just curious.
Going to my aunt's house. We usually go there every year as tradition.
Cool.
This will be the baby's first Thanksgiving, so
we're gonna be home. My favorite place to be.
Let's see.
There it is.
There's a few. So he's got Zelda, Link's Awakening, Super Mario 3D All Stars, Pokemon, Super Mario Odyssey. Okay, so they're a little bit more. $16 for not Metroid, for Luigi's Mansion.
Luigi's Mansion.
Yeah. Breath of the Wild, he's got one for $14. It's a weird conversion because it's going to euros.
Yeah,
so that's why it's like 12 cents on one, 73 cents on the other. But he's got quite a few. And like I said, if you buy a couple of them, then it works out better there.
Sweet.
All right. You got any more on your list there? You wanted to go to
I got one more.
Okay.
So as a kid, I thought that Jurassic Park on the Sega Genesis was like the raddest thing ever. Just because you could be the raptor. I find that game extremely frustrating now. That's all I gotta say. Did you play that game much?
What game was it?
Jurassic Park for the Genesis.
No.
Yeah, so like I liked the side scrolling aspect on the Genesis. I liked how I thought the graphics looked more realistic. I thought that was cooler than the overhead cartoony Super Nintendo version. Which, by the way, I sent Russ a text and JLove81 and Megadan29. They're coming out with a Switch collection of all the Jurassic Park games, Genesis versions included. I think even Rampage Edition.
Yes, and Game Boy. I watched briefly. Sean put out a video RGT85, so I was like, oh, let me check it out, see what's going on. And it seems pretty neat. And I think they even added some stuff. He showed, I think in the Nintendo version, they added like a map that you can use that wasn't in the original.
Sweet.
So if you guys like Jurassic Park,
so
pick up the collection.
Yeah, depending on what they charge for it, I may grab it, even though I'm sitting here talking about how I hate the game. It still gives me warm fuzzies, especially the dino growling, the T-Rex growling at the intro of the Genesis one.
Oh, right, yeah, the
The
sound effects.
Genesis one was just so much more bad A, you know what I mean?
Well, you would think because of, like, Mortal Kombat came out in there, and that was more edgier or whatever, so you're like, "Oh, you gotta get Jurassic Park on Sega if you want it to be edgy."
I just thought, like, the idea of getting to be, like, you always get to be the person, but getting to be the dinosaur hunting the person, like, that's a cool twist.
Right, absolutely. Like, you never
So,
get essentially be the villain or
yeah,
whatever.
you never get to
Like
be, like, the
what if a Batman game came out and you played as the Joker?
ooh, see, now you're talking, Russ.
Yeah. That'd be pretty sweet.
That would be sick.
Alright, speaking of, evil beings, there's my transition. I put Resident Evil 1 on PlayStation. Overrated, possibly better growing up. And that's again, this kind of similar boat with Metroid Prime. The controls are hard to go back to. Tank controls, as they call them there, where it's very difficult to move your character around. That Dino Crisis kind of suffers from that as well. All those early PlayStation 1 games
Yep.
have the same engine. Um, I like the remakes, of course, way better. They did remake it on GameCube. I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure if it was on PlayStation 2 or not. But on the current gen systems, they've remade 2, 3, and now 4, which are fantastic, being it brought back, like we said, with these shooters and everything. Everything's mapped out the same where you're moving with this and your other analog stick controls where you're shooting. It just flows a lot better. I guess with how slow paced though, like the first one is, I guess you could get used to the tank controls. But again, if you're used to everything nowadays playing it, it's hard to go back to that
I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. My
and
body's
go.
trained too much in the ways of Halo.
And it's like going back to like slower loading times, and everything's a lot slower. Graphics are a little bit choppier. I mean, it is PS1, so it's a little bit better than I guess N64, right?
Yeah.
Although they did have Resident Evil 2 on N64, I never played it on there,
Hmm.
so I'm
Interesting.
curious on that how that looked.
Yeah. I missed that whole time frame from like 97, 98 to like
Mhm.
2003. All those things that came out and I just wasn't a part of it.
I had put that. I'll throw another one in. I had put Resident Evil 1, and I also put Tomb Raider. The original Tomb Raider is kind of tough to go back to again with that kind of. It's like that early generation of 3D games, right? Where you're like sometimes the camera is almost fighting against you and where you got to go. They are doing a collection of the Tomb Raider series, so I believe a lot of that stuff is fixed. So I might pick that up this way. I can experience the games and enjoy them a lot more than picking up the originals.
Tomb Raider is a game that I just have zero nostalgia for. I never played it. I don't think I've ever played it in my whole life.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I only played I think the first one, and I honestly didn't really know where to go or kind of how to control. Like I played in the training area where you're jumping and all this, and you get to see the butler. And then I tried to do whatever, what would you call it, challenges or missions, and I just
Okay.
didn't know where to go and got stuck or would fall and then you die or I get eaten by lions, and I'm like, I don't know what
Oh
to do.
gosh, that happens.
Yeah, there's like animals that will attack you,
Uh,
but
Another game that I would say is akin to the Jurassic Park game, and I don't know why I always kind of lump these games together. I just thought the Sega Genesis versions just seemed so much cooler than like the NES somewhat counterpart, but was X-Men on the Genesis. I loved the intro, that wang, that like that was so
absolutely.
rad. It was so jarring, dun, 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 dun,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
the really cool sprite characters, like the characters animations look good. Like I love that Gambit was on there and he threw his cards. But man, that game is really frustrating going back to as an adult.
Right.
I
Yeah.
can't get hardly anywhere in it.
It's like
Uh,
I give up.
So yeah, that and Jurassic Park, I'm just like, all right, I'm done.
I'm done. Call it quits.
But they remind me of each other, I think, because like I said, I thought they had cooler, at least looking versions than the Super
Right.
Nintendo.
Yeah, edgier or something
Mhm.
different going for it. I got a few more on the list, but we'll jump over to our social medias and see what you guys are saying. I posted this up on our Instagram, on our YouTube community page and Facebook. So we'll see what you guys say.
What did you say? What did you say?
Springfield, let's hear from you.
All right, we got our Instagram at the Weekly Warp Pipe. Iowa Retro Gamer Dad says almost any N64 game.
That's hilarious. Take that, Andy. N64 score.
I almost want to agree with him. I haven't played much N64 currently. I had sold all my games in system when I worked at the video game store to get a PS4.
And you've never regretted it.
And the only reason why I have an N64 now is because someone had brought one in that was like slightly broken, and they were like, "You could just have this," and it was a fantastic like green color.
I used
So I
to
was
have
like,
that one.
"Oh, okay," and I cleaned it up, and it does work. So I was like, "Okay," but I don't have any. Oh, I did get one game. I bought one game maybe last year or 2 years ago off of Pixel Game Squad. I think Gabbo was selling Mario Kart 64 in the box, so I picked that up.
I bet I've had 7 N64s since collecting.
Okay.
And none of them have lasted at my house longer than 3 weeks
Jeez.
before I
You're
turn
like,
around
yeah,
and sold
we're
them.
good. They do have the nice, did I pick up those? I think I have one of them, the Brawler N64 controllers where it's almost like a newer design to the N64 controller. So it feels a little bit better. So if you're going to play N64, maybe go with that controller. I don't know. Then we got Retroholic16 who suggested this topic. He says, I feel like most of the original 3D games coming out for the PS1 and N64 are pretty rough to go back to now, which we already mentioned a few. Not just because the graphics, but the controls seem super clunky now.
There you go.
The one I feel like that gets overlooked is Super Mario 64. I love that game growing up and have such great memories, but it's rough to play now.
You know what my most fond, I guess if I'm probably overusing the word fond memory of Mario 64 is just playing it in Walmart. Seeing the N64 the first time, holding the controller and just running
Mhm.
around that little open area around the castle.
Oh yeah, just cruising. Yeah, I get that kind of jogged my memory a little bit, just being in the open area. Like,
Because
what is this? Where do you go? Like,
because I never had the game. I never had
oh,
a
okay.
64. So
Mhm.
my fondest memories are playing it like at a kiosk in Walmart.
Perfect. I would say mine's more with Super Mario World, sorry. In service merchandise.
Oh yeah.
I'd played a
Mario.
bunch there.
Yeah, I didn't play Mario World a bunch in the store, but I obviously played it a ton at home because I had it. So
Nice. All right, and then we got one more by
Ooh,
a Cup of Retro.
Retro.
What's up? Gold 007 GoldenEye. FPS games have evolved well over time, especially with controls.
Yep.
Having to fully stop moving, then to aim and shoot is so awkward in 2023.
He is not wrong.
That's what I said. It's just tough going back to that. Like you have to either update the control scheme if you want to play it, but unless it's remastered, that's not happening. So it's tough to go back to that. Or I guess play it enough to where it becomes the norm again.
Not doing it.
You got to unlearn it.
Unlearn.
And then let's see, we also got on our YouTube page, got a couple people over there. Let's see, share. Here we go. Phoenix Cerberus.
Phoenix resale, sweet.
If I remember the warp pipes correctly, you would use them. Oh, no, I'm on the wrong one. Sorry, this is topics. Suggest it. Topic suggestions. All right, let's go back to my main page of the warp pipes, and we'll see here. Do, 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 do.
Do you like retro video games?
I do.
Oh, look at that beautiful commercial.
Beautiful promo. Okay, here we are. Games you love back in the day, but don't play well now. All right. Bad guy
Ooh.
Mike Worley. He says, you guys might laugh at this, but my brother and I used to rent X-Men for the NES a bunch back in the day.
Wow.
We loved X-Men and wanted that game to be good in the worst way. And as I'm sure you know, the game didn't hold up well at all. Keep up the great work, guys. Enjoying the shows.
I remember me and my friend Mark playing it at his house, and I also remember us kind of liking it, but looking back, I don't know why.
Well, again, it almost comes into that where it was a key moment of like the 90s X-Men cartoon was out. You had Flair Ultra X-Men cards out. So in comic books, and it's like, all right, regardless whether the game was great or not, it was the only thing we had a video game related to X-Men. So we like made the best of it.
I think me and Mark were
Essentially,
playing this before that cartoon came out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know the timeline of everything, but I feel like all that.
No, you're supposed to know the intricate details of my life, Russ, when I played every game and how I felt about each one.
That's it. All right, what else we got? We got Colby. Colby says, I feel like this hits for the N64 era hard. Some of the games I loved back then and played religiously just aren't quite the same now. I might catch some heat for this one, but one in particular that really does not play well now is the OG classic GoldenEye 007.
I said it
Uh,
too.
when it released, it was revolutionary. Epic gameplay, music, multiplayer. I could play this game for hours without getting sick of it. I remember many weekend nights back with my friends playing this one till the sun came up. Playing it now, though, I feel like it doesn't hold up whatsoever. The controls and gameplay seem so wonky to me, and quite frankly, I just really lost interest in it about 15 minutes or so. Take me back to 1997, 98, and it was a much different story. It was arguably one of my favorite games on the system then. Another 64 game that comes to mind that I also find doesn't hold up well is Turok Dinosaur Hunter. That's right. It's another almost similar control scheme, I'd say. As a kid, it was different. I used to enjoy the style of play, but now not in the slightest. Again, very wonky gameplay and controls, and confusing to gain your bearings with what's going on without searching the internet for tips. I tried to play this one a few months ago and ended up thinking basically, what a piece of hot garbage this was, and how the heck did I ever enjoy this? These are just two for me that really always stuck out. Loved them as a kid, but they aren't the same now. It's not like that with others. Plenty still hold up for me that I would continually add to the list to play every so often.
We should do the opposite of this next time.
Games that sucked back in the day, but now are good, I guess, right? Or
No, I was
how do
actually
you
just
want to spin
thinking
it?
games that really held up, stood
Oh,
the
that
test of
just
time.
held up. Okay.
So I guess not the exact opposite.
But yeah, no, he brings up a good point. I mean, I played Turok when it came out as well, and that was a cool concept. Okay, it's like dinosaurs, right? You're a hunter, and I got through a couple of the stages for sure. Never beated it. I do believe it did come out. I think they released it on the Switch. They think they did a like a compilation or something like that. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I want to say it recently came out, or maybe Limited Run did something with it. But yeah, great comment for sure. Those two games, again, tough with those controls going back. Okay, Phoenix.
I feel like we're getting a lot of vindication. A lot of our sentiments are being echoed back.
Right, where we were talking about the N64 and GoldenEye already early on. So perfect. Phoenix did comment on this post as well. So come around back to him. All, all of them.
All of them. Just all of them.
I don't have the same reflex speed and attention span as I did in my youth. I'm constantly getting beat by my teenage daughter. I recently bought Blaster Master. I remember it being fun. I played it again and it was pretty difficult. Same goes for Ghost and Goblins. Overall, I find the graphics on the NES looking a lot worse than I remember them.
Blasphemy.
But for some strange reason, SNES still has that great nostalgic feel for me.
Go play Batman and Castlevania.
I was gonna say Blaster Master. I didn't put a lot of time of that back in the day, but I want to like it. Like one of those want to like it, but it's so difficult again with no map. Where do I
Yeah,
go?
That's funny that I feel the same way. So I never played Blaster Master as a kid, nor
Mhm.
did I know that it was even a game when I was a kid. And it's a game that I know people like kind of hold like high esteem for. And I get it. I get why it's good. The music's great. Sunsoft made it. Controls are good.
Mhm.
Everything looks great about it. But I can't get into the gameplay.
But the remake Blaster Master Zero on Switch was fantastic. So if you
See, I never
haven't played
played that
that,
one.
it's got a map, tons of places you could save and like reload your weapons and all that. Great time. And that's basically just a reimagining. And then they made 2 more to complement that. So
Maybe one day.
maybe one day. All right, what else we got? We got Seventh Angel. I feel a little ashamed for saying this, but I have trouble getting back into my favorite NES games.
Like which one? I'd love to know.
I'm not as patient, nor do I have the reflexes as I did as a kid. It was my first console we owned, but I find it hard to revisit now. That's the
No.
second person talking about reflexes.
Why are people dissing the NES? Hurts my heart.
We're not as yeah, I guess I didn't even think about putting that into effect, like having faster reflexes to move and dodge and get out of the way.
Speak for yourself.
Move your thumbs. I need my training. What is it? The Ninja
Show me
Gaiden
your
episode.
thumbs.
Yeah, I guess it's like being a child playing those games. Were we just reacting to it faster because we were a child? We just had more time to memorize how the game went, so it was easier. Whereas now, as an adult, you're putting these games in, and what are you playing? 15 minutes,
Yeah.
half an hour, whatever. Whereas back then, again, this is a lot goes into it. How many NES games did you have? 5,
Yep.
6. So
Yep.
you can play one game a week straight because you had nothing else to play. So
right.
you got really good at that game and learned, died and died and died, and you just got better at that. Now there are so many options for you to play billions of games basically with emulation or having the games or with all the systems that are out. It's hard to sink that much time into that one single game and get good at it. It's kind of like beat this game, move on. The next one's coming out. Got to get it.
Endless continue means no game over.
Perfect. What else we got? We got a few more here. We got Nintendo. Can't say I remember seeing that name on there before. So maybe
Going out on a
first time
limb.
commenter. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say Mario 64. It isn't bad. It's still great. Still fun, but everyone holds it to this godly standard, which they've heard so that they regurgitate it. I was there. I was 7 or 8 when we got an 64 and I first saw that game. So I know how things were. I'd argue Mario 3 and World have held up better
Absolutely.
and still are 100% perfection. Literally industry defining culture important pieces. A lot of people say, yeah, 3 and World are good, but 64 was the pinnacle.
Who says that? I've never heard anybody say that. If you say that, call the show and tell me that you're the one, because I've never heard that.
And they kind of breeze over the previous entries. But when it comes to Zelda, everyone holds the near perfection score, and there are a lot of folks who love Ocarina still, but will cite Zelda 1 or Link to the Past as better, more perfect, more groundbreaking, etc. I think most who claim Mario 64 is so amazing will put it on for a little bit, do some running around for a while, and put the controller down, which definitely isn't the case for Ocarina of Time. I just think Mario 64 gets overpraised. As I said, it's still great, but it hasn't held up as well as everyone makes out. There are other 3D games before it, yet the narrative is that Nintendo made that game. It was the blueprint and everyone copied it, which just really isn't the case. 3D was always changing in concept, given the IP, changing controls, the way it felt, and changing the actual structure of levels, worlds, or areas, etc. Fantastic point. Yeah.
I still don't know who says 64 is better than World or 3. If anything, I think the discussion is which is better, 3 or World.
Three or World, right? It always
Um,
seems like back and forth with that, like which one's the better
I
one.
feel like I lean on the side of the fence of World. But that game blew my mind.
Super Mario World, yeah.
Oh yeah, just haven't been the same since.
But he brings up a great point with comparing it to Ocarina of Time. For some reason, Ocarina holds up more
Yes.
than Mario 64.
Yeah. I'd say Majora's Mask and Ocarina are probably split on the 64 about who likes which one.
Right, and that comes down, I mean, it's made on the same engine, Majora's Mask, just the whole time mechanic, if you're cool with that, having to kinda rush around or figure out things within a time-based
I'll
system.
be completely honest and say I've owned both of those games, the
Mhm.
gold copies, never played either one. Maybe like 2 minutes just to test it out, but
Right.
um, I have no idea what those games are like. No
So,
clue.
yeah, I played Ocarina back in the day and beat it. I only played Majora's Mask when they remade it on the 3DS. So I played it through there, and I played it once and beat it, and I have no desire to play it again. I really didn't like that time mechanic. I had to look up a full walkthrough, like, to know you have to go to this store at this day to find this guy with the mask to do whatever. And I was like, I don't like this. And then you'd get to the third day, you'd have to restart and do it all over again. I was like, just give me Ocarina time. There's no time constraint. I could just ride my horse
Yeah.
around the Hyrule Field for a while.
Of the 3 Zelda games that I've really put the most time into, which are 1, 2, and Link to the Past, I guess,
Mhm.
which is 3, I'd say 3 is probably the best.
With those, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Love all 3 of them, but 3's probably the best.
Sounds good. Sounds good to me. And then we got one more comment from Rodney Torres.
This is hilarious.
Turok and GoldenEye on the N64. The controls are horrendous. I don't know how I used to play those games.
Sounds like everybody's got the same thought.
I like that people brought up Turok. I almost feel like not a lot of people talk about that game.
I
And,
agree. I don't ever
and,
hear anyone talk about it.
and it's cool that they a lot of people are on the same page with that. Again, I played the first, and I want to say there's 3 of them on N64. There was Turok, there was Turok something Seeds, I think, and then they made one which I think was a Blockbuster exclusive, Rage Wars.
Turok Goes to College.
Turok Goes to College, which I think it was a multiplayer s game where they added 4 players to kind of compete in with the GoldenEye, like people doing that. But yeah, I said I played it back in the day. I don't have a desire to go back to it unless the controls have been updated, which I think I'm gonna look up now. I want to say it came out on the Switch. Turok on Switch.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's on limited run, but I'm unsure if it's updated controls or if it's just brought to the new generation. So your guess is good as mine, but yeah, a lot of people saying the same thing with that N64 era. Definitely hard with the controls, and then if you go back to PlayStation 1, some of those early games with the tank controls are definitely hard to go back to and enjoy. I'm almost better off. I'll look up a playthrough on YouTube and kind of watch someone else just play through it to kind of relive, like, all right, cool, that's how that game played, and kind of remember playing that. Let's see. I did have a few I could briefly bring up on mine. Oh, I had 2 left because we
What you
mentioned
got,
these.
Russ?
2 Nintendo games. Kinda leaning on the overrated, possibly, or you enjoyed them back in the day and not so much now, but I put the first Mega Man on there.
Ooh.
It's okay, but that they were still kinda getting their bearings of, like, what do we want this game to be? There's a score system. There
Yeah.
there weren't as many bosses in it, and, it
They
just kinda
definitely figured it
runs
out by
differently.
2.
Right, like, 2, I feel like is real the series starts, and then 3, they added, like, a slide mechanic in there, so you're like, "Okay, now he's got a little bit more dynamicness to it." But going back to 1, I played it
Little
growing up, but I'm like,
little rough.
I could pass on it. I will say, though, if you have a PSP system, which I haven't played mine in years, but I bought the Mega Man Powered Up game, which is a reimagining of Mega Man 1,
Okay.
but it almost looks like Mega Man X.
Hmm.
Kind of mixed up with, for whatever reason, they have like bigger heads with
Okay.
smaller bodies. So it's like cutesy,
Chibi, is that what you would call that?
chibi style. Yeah. So I picked up, I think it was like they made like a double pack on PSP where it was Mega Man Powered Up and then Mega Man X Maverick Hunter, which was a remake of Mega Man X. So fantastic games. If you have a PSP, definitely check those out. And then the last one on my list was Metal Gear on NES.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like a lot of, I know people love the Metal Gear series, but I feel like most people love it from PlayStation on,
Right.
and they don't really talk. They kind of mentioned the NES one, and it was cool for the time coming out, being something different, where instead of running gun like Contra or Guerrilla Wars or Commando, all those games, this was kind of based on the stealth.
It was like, yeah, you're sneaking around, right?
And I don't think a lot of people got that concept, and they were very confused on, again, where to go in the game. Like I probably only gotten 6 screens into the game, and if I rented it, and I'm like, what do I do? I don't understand?
I'm sick of hiding from these dogs.
Right, I just keep punching these dogs in the face, and I get in this Jeep, and it drops me off somewhere. So it's definitely tough to go back to that one. Like some of the games you have that nostalgia for, and you're like, you want to go back and enjoy it, and you're just like, meh, no.
Yeah, I agree.
But like we said, maybe we'll do a future episode where the games do hold up, where you go back and you're like, wow, this one's pretty good. Or find new ones. I've recently I streamed this past year Faxanadu,
Oh yeah,
which I
that
never
game
played.
really good, right?
And I was like, what? This game's sweet.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I never played
underrated.
that one growing up, so I don't hear too many people talk about it. It's, it's that title where you could barely read the name.
Did you
on
end up
the
beating
NES
it?
card. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I beat it. Yeah, I did.
I got really close to beating it. Like probably like over a year ago now. But I was playing it on when I was real big onto TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
I
So you
regret,
stream it on there.
I regret not going back and finishing it because I was so close.
Yeah, I mean, it plays similar to a.
I kind of think of it as like a Zelda 2
I was
almost.
going to say Zelda 2, but no, there's no overworld map.
No,
So you're just moving side-scrolling
the
stage to
side
stage,
scrolling portions, yes.
and you can buy upgrades for your armor, and there's magic and stuff like that. I will say I follow a guy on YouTube. It's not going to help anyone out, but he updates NES games to where you can only play them on a PC because he like makes it widescreen, but then he adds extra stuff to the game to better it. So he's done this to Ninja Turtles. He did Faxanadu, I think Ninja Gaiden, like a ton. So I'd watch some of his videos doing that, and it was kind of interesting. Like, oh, I almost want to go
That's
back and try
interesting
that
just to
game.
see what he fixed and changed.
Yes, yeah, like certain stuff where it's like, oh, this was annoying, or like, why did they add this in the game? And he's like, all right, I'm going to update it. So I was like, I'll have to see if I could play it on my PC. I'm sure I could. I think he has it where you could download it, or he'll send you like a CD when it comes in like a dust sleeve type thing.
That's cool.
I was like, okay, I could go with that. Sweet. Well, appreciate you guys dropping in the comments on this topic here, and you could give us a buzz if you want to. We got a phone number. You can leave a voicemail, and that is 949-682-9277. That's 949-682-WARP. You can leave a voicemail. You can text too. Text messages go through. We can just read it on the air. And you can check out the weekly warpipe.com. We got all sorts of stuff there. I got mugs. You can order a mug. We got pins, magnets for your refrigerator, t-shirts. So you can support the show that way. And you could also head over to patreon.com/Russ Lyman. You can just support the show that way. You can do $1 a month. Goes towards us running this here. Our top Patreon supporters are Dan and Nicole's Treasures Untold, Joe Sheevy, Trace Living Good, Samantha Chang, Rodney Torres, and Retroholic 16. Awesome support for the
Hopefully,
show.
hopefully Santa calls us back again.
Santa, if you want to call back and update, I do have the tree. We got to put ornaments on it, which I will say I have to go to Hallmark and pick up the Sega Dreamcast ornament that they released.
I have a question for Santa too.
Oh, okay.
Is there any time in your busy schedule that you're not making toys all years? Maybe maybe you got like a little downtime. What games does Santa play?
Oh, at the North Pole.
Yeah, does he play like Home Alone 2, like Lost in New York on the Super Nintendo? Like, is he playing Christmas games only, or like?
Is it Doom?
Yeah.
Get some frustration
Are you
out.
raging out on Doom? What are you doing? What are you playing, Santa?
Let us know. Sweet guys, we appreciate you always hanging out, listening, watching us, and supporting the show. As always, I'm Russ Lyman. Keep your world fun, bit by bit.